Hello there, I'm Lady Loy, and I'm having a rum and black. Do you remember those rum and blacks back in the day? Only this is white rum, Ray and Nephew, with some blackcurrant. Anyway, talking about food for the heart, and I've done a series of 3 this evening about loving, being afraid to love again after you've had pain, and what peace feels like, whether it feels suspicious. And this one is about the difference between love and responsibility. If you like music, I'm a DJ, and you can catch me on Lovers Rock Radio every Friday 7 till 9, and on Saturdays on Gold Standard Radio 7 till 9. So let's talk about the difference between love and responsibility, because sometimes there's a fine line that we get caught up in, and it's too late by the time we've realised we've taken on more than we should have done in the first place. So there are some lessons in life that we don't learn because someone teaches them to us. We learn them because one day we start self-reflecting and ask ourselves, why does this keep happening? Not because we're unlucky, not because every person we meet is difficult, but because somewhere along the way we've accepted responsibilities that were never ours to carry. It's a strange thing, really. Most of us grow up believing that love means being there for people. We admire those who are generous, those who stand by their family, those who support their friends, those who help when someone is struggling. Those are beautiful qualities. They make communities stronger, they make relationships richer, but somewhere along the line, many of us cross an invisible line without even noticing it. We stop loving people and we start becoming responsible for them. The strange thing is that it doesn't happen all at once. It happens one small decision at a time. You tell yourself they're having a difficult week, so you overlook something that hurts you. Then they're under pressure financially, so you quietly take on a little bit more yourself. They're stressed, so you excuse the way they speak to you. They're carrying childhood wounds, so you become more patient. Before long, your entire relationship revolves about understanding them, supporting them, explaining them, protecting them. And without ever meaning to, you've quietly disappeared from your own life. I wonder how many of us have asked ourselves, how are they coping? Far more often, we've never even asked, how am I coping? Somehow their feelings become urgent while ours become optional. The difficulty is that it feels loving at first. It feels noble. We tell ourselves that relationships require sacrifice, and they do. Every healthy relationship asks us to compromise sometimes, but compromise is not the same as carrying another adult through life while forgetting to walk yourself. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. One of the biggest surprises in life is discovering that caring deeply about someone does not make you responsible for the choices they continue to make and have made. You can encourage someone without carrying them. You can support someone without rescuing them. You can love someone without becoming their emotional life jacket. Sometimes we confuse kindness with obligation. We believe that because we can help, we should. Because we understand, we must stay. Because we've already invested so much time, we cannot possibly let go now. Yet none of those things actually describe love. They describe responsibility that slowly grew beyond its rightful place. I think that's why relationships become so exhausting. Not because love itself is exhausting, but because one person is carrying a weight that was meant to be shared. Eventually you become tired, not simply in your body, but in your spirit. You begin wondering why you feel empty, why you've given so much. When you've given so much and you feel depleted, the answer may simply be that you've been pouring from a cup that nobody has allowed to be refilled. The Bible gives us a beautiful picture of this without ever encouraging us to lose ourselves. Jesus loved people deeply. He healed them. He listened to them. He had compassion for them. Yet there were also times when he walked away, as I've said in many of my videos. There were towns he left, crowds he didn't follow, people he allowed to make their own decisions. He never confused loving people with controlling their choices. He offered truth, he offered grace, but he never carried responsibility that belonged to someone else. Perhaps that's something we need to hear today. Love is an invitation. Responsibility has its limits. Think about a garden for a moment. You can water the plants, you can remove the weeds, you can make sure there's enough sunlight, but you cannot force a seed to grow. Growth belongs to the seed itself. Relationships are often like that. We can create healthy conditions, we can encourage, we can support. We cannot do someone else's growing for them. Maybe that's why we become disappointed. We believe that if we love enough, sacrifice enough, and understand enough, the other person will eventually change. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Their decision never belonged to us. One of the quiet signs of emotional maturity is recognizing where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. That's not selfishness, it's wisdom. It means allowing adults to experience the consequences of their own choices. It means believing that God can work in someone else's life without you becoming the Holy Spirit on his behalf. Did you hear that? It means believing that God can work in someone's life without you becoming the Holy Spirit on his behalf. That can be difficult, especially if you're someone who naturally nurtures people. You see potential where others see problems. You see possibilities where others see failure. Those are beautiful gifts, but gifts become burdens when they're no longer guided by wisdom. Have you noticed that some people only seem to change when nobody rescues them anymore? As long as somebody keeps solving the problem never really belongs to them. It's only when they have to carry their own responsibility, become accountable, that real growth begins. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do isn't stepping in, it's stepping back. That doesn't mean becoming cold, it doesn't mean becoming uncaring. It simply means trusting that the other person's life belongs to them in the same way your life belongs to you. It means believing that love can exist without control, that compassion can exist without exhaustion, that generosity can exist without self-neglect. Perhaps one of the greatest changes healing brings is that we stop asking, how can I save this person? And begin asking, can we walk beside one another with mutual respect? That's a very different relationship. One has someone carrying the weight while the other leans. The other has two people walking together, each responsible for their own steps, each willing to help when needed, but neither expecting to be carried. The Bible tells us to carry one another's burden. The Bible tells us to carry one another's burdens, and that's a beautiful command, but it also tells us that each person must carry their own load. At first, those verses seem to contradict one another until we realise they're talking about different things. There are burdens that come through illness, grief and unexpected hardship where we absolutely should stand beside one another. But there are also responsibilities that belong to each individual, their choices, their character, their willingness to grow. Love helps carry burdens. It cannot live someone else's life for them. Maybe that's the freedom so many hearts have been searching for, the freedom to care deeply without carrying everything, the freedom to support without surrendering yourself, the freedom to love without believing another person's future rests entirely on your shoulders. If you've spent years feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness, perhaps today is an invitation to lay some of that weight down. Not because you love less, but because you finally understood what love was always meant to be. Love walks beside people. It doesn't carry them where they refuse to walk themselves. And perhaps as we begin to understand the difference between love and responsibility, we also begin to understand something about God. He loves us completely. He invites us, He guides us, He forgives us, but He still allows us to choose. If perfect love can leave room for responsibility, then perhaps our love can too. And when we discover that, we don't become less loving, we become wiser.